fame, catching a road wave. A big surprise, I'm gonna rise and flash my tooth cane. All the buff dudes, safe on the beach food. They're gonna need a bigger boat and barrels real soon. I'm a sea king, a CGI thing. I'm here to eat and bare my teeth and shake a tail fin. I'm lonely and taking a ride. Lured in by your bucket and shove. It's one weakness I can't hide. Take me to your bucket and shove.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Bucket of Chum, the Shark Movie Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Captain Steve, and this week we have a review for Graveyard Shark from 2024, directed by Matt Peters. I just want to say a huge thank you to Mad Angel Films for sending me this screener. I am very grateful for this. This is the first shark movie screener I have been sent, so that was very exciting for me. They reached out and asked if it would be okay, and after I finished cleaning up the jizz everywhere, I said, yes, absolutely, please send this to me now. Yeah, so I very gladly accepted, and so I cannot wait to talk to you guys about this movie. It's something else. We'll start with that. But as always, we'll get into the plot synopsis. There isn't one for Letterboxd just yet. This movie isn't even out yet. The Blu-rays don't start shipping until July 19th, so about a week from when this comes out, I believe. So yeah, there's no ratings or anything else on there right now, so yeah, I'm excited to be probably one of the first people to hopefully rate it. But anyways, I got the plot synopsis from the press package that they sent over, so I'm just going to read a very brief part of it. And then we're going to get into the details as I describe the plot, as we always do. In the eerie depths of Willsboro Point lies a chilling legend that strikes fear into the hearts of its inhabitants, the terrifying graveyard shark. The ominous humanoid creature born from the darkest depths of folklore prowls the town's graveyard, its hunger for blood insatiable. That's all you really need to know going into this. You don't need to know anything else. It's just so amazing. If you recall, I actually did a trailer react for this a while ago, and just based on the trailer, I am very excited. I was excited just by the poster. When I first saw the poster for this movie, I'm like, okay, this is pretty fucking cool. So, like, between the trailer and the poster, I had very high expectations for this movie. Because it looked like I would get a lot of shark, a lot of blood, gore, all the things that I've kind of been asking about, and maybe more. So does this movie deliver on that? Well, let's find out and dive in. So we start off in this really foggy graveyard. Think like 70s Hammer horror. It's just fucking fog everywhere. And these teenagers, some of the like most 35-year-old teenagers I've ever seen, but this plays into this movie. So I don't know if I said off the top, but this is definitely like a comedy horror. Like, it's more comedy than it is horror, obviously, but that doesn't matter. It's so amazing. But just know that going into it, there's a lot of comedy. And so like these people that are clearly older than teenagers playing teenagers, it's just funny because we all know even in movies with the teenagers, most of them are like 23 or some shit, right? So this is totally fine with me. And so one of the girls, it's two girls and two guys, and one of the girls is fairly new to the area, and so she asks about, like, oh, what's this about the graveyard shark? And the other girl's like, oh, I don't want to hear about that, that's a scary story, blah, blah, blah. But of course the guy's like, oh yeah, so the graveyard shark, blah, blah, blah. And they say that some fishermen found this, like, creature and then buried it in the graveyard in hopes of, like, the holy ground keeping it there or some shit like that. That's basically the town's urban legend for this thing. So anyways, the new girl and her boyfriend go off to go fuck. And then the other two that are left there, the girl's like, oh, I'm not doing any of that. I'm not in the mood. And he's like, oh, anything I can do to change your mind? And then basically persuades her. And they're like, yeah, we're going to have sexy times too. Sexy times for everybody. And the new girl gets naked, so like we're probably 5 minutes into this, and there's already nudity, so bonus points for that. I can't remember the last time I saw nudity in a shark movie, to be honest. I'm thinking maybe Sky Sharks or something like that. Honestly, can't remember what else. Not that it always needs to be in shark movies, I'm not saying that, but I'm like, I'm not going to be upset by it. And as he's going down on her, he gets dragged away by the shark. We haven't seen it yet, but he gets dragged away. And then she looks up and doesn't see him, and she's like, oh, stop playing around, just come and fuck me already. They had just a bunch of horny fucking teenagers. And the other couple hear her scream when she's attacked. So the other boyfriend goes off to have a look and starts calling out for them and finds the girl's like severed head. Basically, her head's just kind of like at the bottom of the screen, and then we kind of see like some guts around it. But it's cool. Like, this is low budget horror, but they use the money in the right spots here, because we then see the graveyard shark and it rips this dude's arm off. And this thing is fucking awesome. It's just like this big muscular suit of some sort. Like, I'm assuming like some sort of rubber latex suit. Don't get me wrong, it looks fucking awesome. But, and then there's like Hammerhead head, and it's got like this leather vest on with spikes, little spikes on it. It is fucking incredible. This is what I'm talking about to get weird with the fucking movies. Like, yes, this is weird shit. Like, what is happening right now? Fucking love it. So anyways, the other girl starts running for the gates and she almost makes it, but then the graveyard shark gets her. And most of the kills in this movie, it's mostly just like the shark going up to like the neck or somewhere else and like kind of gnawing on them, and we just see blood spurting out. So it's not like there's a ton of gore, and there's only so much articulation the mask could probably do. But I'm happy with this because they used a lot of fucking blood, so I'm good with that. And I don't think there was a lot of CG blood, if I remember correctly. I remember a couple of CGI things here, but I don't think the blood was for the most part. So that was cool. We got practical fucking blood. Thank fucking Jesus. Whew, in case you can't tell, guys, I'm pretty excited right now. I'm pretty worked up because I'm pretty excited. After all that, we cut to this commercial, this really god-awful commercial, and it's got Abbey and Greg, our two main characters, and it's basically an ad for their, like, monster hunting business that they do. And Greg's the one who edited this, but he left all the, like, fucking mistakes in, and so then we just kind of cut to them watching it, and he's like, what do you think? And she's like, I don't know how to tell you this other than, like, it looks like a pile of dog shit. Like, it's just fucking awful. And these two banter throughout the whole movie, and I just fucking love it. Whenever these two just have their back and forth, it's just so fucking funny to me. So yeah, after they do that, Dr. Jan Lovick walks in, and the two were just discussing that if they don't get any work soon, they're gonna have to close the business down, because I don't think they've ever actually like hunted anything before, like monster-wise, or anything for that matter. So luckily she walks in just at this moment to give them some business and says like, hey, yeah, you want to come hunt down the graveyard shark? And she invites them to this support meeting so she can hear the stories of everybody. And they agree, and they're like, oh, fuck yeah, let's go do that. So they go there the next day and start listening to everybody's stories. And we see a couple of these. And the first one is these two girls having a picnic. One of them says like, oh yeah, it'd be so romantic to have it in the graveyard. Why? I don't know. Maybe some people are into that, I guess, but I don't know. That's just kind of weird to me. But again, just playing into the comedy of it all. And one of them proposes, but then the shark comes and attacks the other one just as she's getting ready to take her shirt off. So like, fuck you, shark. Like, what are you doing, man? Just, yeah, terrible. This shark is a cock blocker. The next one is this like social media OnlyFans girl, and she's having like these sexy photos taken in the graveyard. And then her photographer ends up getting attacked by the shark, and she ends up escaping. And then she doesn't even know the photographer's name. Like, this person is just fucking awful. And then like later on, she gets mad that she hasn't gotten the photographs back from the photographer, even though she's fucking dead. Total dumbass. But again, these people play their parts so well. I can't understand, like, even though this is like B movie level, obviously, maybe even lower tier. I don't know how people consider these things nowadays, but I was very impressed with the acting for the most part. I actually wasn't expecting it to be as good as it was. I was very thoroughly impressed with that, so that was awesome. And then the next story has absolutely nothing to do with the shark. It's just this stoner dude, and he kind of talks like the hockey players and Letterkenny, but all of the slang he's using is just terms for different types of weed or whatever. And basically the story is just about him spending time with his not drug dealer. And then they're like eating ice cream together, and it's just super silly, and it was great. I was fucking laughing most of this movie. It was so good, and just thoroughly impressed for the most part. But yeah, it was great. And then after that, this crazy fisherman comes into the room and he tells everybody, he's like, "Oh yeah, I warned you not to go in there. I warned you not to go in there." He's like, "All you crazy white folk." He is a black man. Just it's not just some white guy saying that. And he's like, "Yeah, I told all you about it, and none of them listened." This dude is fucking hilarious. He goes over to the missing persons board and he's like, "See her? I warned that bitch." Like, and he just starts like pointing at all the different people and like saying how much he warned them. Like, you just got to see this. He's so fucking funny. His name is Captain Isaac Seaburn, or Cyburn or something, and he's played by Bernadette March. It just kind of looks like he's mostly done all of the other movies that Mad Angel Films has done. So it looks like they pretty much just work with a lot of the same actors, which is super cool. I like it when movies or production companies do that. I'm going to talk more about what they do towards the end, though. After this hilarious rant, though, Abby tells a story about her dad dying by some monster she saw that she still has no idea what it was. So that's basically why she's become a monster hunter. And then Dr. Jan takes Greg and Abby to the graveyard, and she tells them that she doesn't actually believe the graveyard shark is real. So she just thinks that it's some sort of mass psychosis. And I guess she just kind of brought the monster hunters there to kind of appease people, even though because she doesn't believe it. So yeah, I guess that's, yeah, I don't know why. It doesn't matter though. But Abby is very determined to find this thing and either kill it or, I don't know, study it or something. And then Greg comments that like the graveyard looks normal. And then Abby kind of rips into him saying like, "Yeah, it would look normal to a stupid person like you." And then she kind of points out like the grass hasn't been cut. Like the gravel is just overgrown where the roadways were. So she's actually like kind of smart, and I actually like her character in this movie. Her and the captain are fucking awesome. Like these two characters really made the movie for me. Like everybody's does a pretty great job, but those two especially are just fucking great. And then the doctor gets a phone call while Abby and Greg are filming, so she goes and wanders off into the woods by herself. And then she basically ends up being fish food. So the shark finds her and then starts attacking her. And then Abby and Greg hear her scream and go find her. When we go back to her, she's being chewed on and her intestines are being ripped out. And then Abby and Greg get excited as they approach where she is, but like the shark has disappeared now. And then they just see the doctor dead on the ground. And then like Abby kind of drops her like monster hunter persona like immediately and tells Greg to call 911. And then she goes and helps Jan. Her character was just really like good. Like she's just a good person. Like weird, but like I actually cared about her character and hoped that nothing bad happened to her, which in a lot of these B movies I don't particularly care about. I just kind of want to see how everybody dies. But I actually thought the characters in this movie were fun for the most part. I wasn't like annoyed by anybody. I don't know. There's just something about it that just tickled me right. I don't even know how to really explain it. Later, the cops have showed up, and the cops say they searched the whole graveyard, but didn't see any sign of a graveyard shark or anything. And then the sheriff basically just thinks that they're crazy and says, yeah, all things point that it was just a bear attack. And then he tells them to go, and then we get some more banter back and forth with Greg and Abby. I'm not going to say all their lines, obviously, and I'm going to keep a lot of it out of here because I want people to watch this because, again, their banter is so fucking good. There's going to be examples sprinkled throughout, but, yeah, I hope this becomes available for people to watch because, god damn, it's good. The sheriff then asks his two deputies to clean up the mess, and after he goes, the male deputy is like, "Nah, screw this, we're just going to leave this for the bears to clean up or whatever." And then he's complaining because the sheriff always gives them the shit jobs, and I'm just like, well, yeah, you're the deputies. Like, that's kind of how the chain of command works in anywhere. Like, I defy you to go find a job, Mr. Deputy, where you don't have to have, like, a shitty... Oh, my God. It's just dumb. You guys know what I'm trying to fucking say. It's just stupid. But yeah, again, it's playing into the comedy of the character, and I love it. And then the female deputy comes up and says, like, "Well, why don't you pound this ass while we smoke this grass?" So yeah, that's where they're gonna go. Seems reasonable. And while these two go at it and do some kinky shit, like, I think he's handcuffed to, like, the tree or a tree root or something, the graveyard shark is just watching from behind a tree. And And then we cut to Abby having a shower, and she's covered in blood. And then she has a flashback to her dad's death, and we actually see what happens. And her dad is killed by like a werewolf-looking thing or something. Hard to tell what it really was, but it was just this big hairy creature. Could have been Bigfoot for all I fucking know. But as she screams in her like flashback, she's screaming in real life, and then Greg comes in and he opens the shower curtain. They both start fucking screaming, and like she tells him to get out, and he apologizes or whatever. It's so fucking good. Again, these two's back and forth is so fucking funny to me. I don't know what it is. I think maybe just like these two actors just played so well off of each other, because Greg is like this mommy's boy. Like he does everything by his mom's rules and whatever. I don't know. I don't want to say it's like a Norman Bates type relationship. Maybe it is. It could be. It's very weird. Yeah, like if you knew this, if this character was real in real life, you'd be like, stay the fuck away from me, man. Like he's weird, but he seems like he's got a good heart, but you know, he's got to get away from his mommy. We go back to our deputies post fucking, and they're getting ready for round 2. Like, fucking cops. And then one of them hears something, and like he's still handcuffed. So the female cop gets her gun ready. She's pointing it around. She's like, "Are you fucking with me?" He's like, "No, I totally heard something." And then she's attacked by the shark. She's thrown to the ground, and I'm pretty sure the shark bites her titty. And then like, yeah, naughty shark. But I think he also bites the male deputy's titty by the look of it. It's like he's biting him in the chest. So, I mean, it's even. So it does work out. And then back at the hotel, Greg shows Abby a message on their website from Captain Isaac, the crazy captain dude. And she sets up a meeting with him, and they meet at a bar, but she goes to get a shot at the bar first, and the bartender's like, "Oh, haven't seen you here before." And she's like, "Oh, I'm here for the graveyard shark." And then, of course, we get like the fucking needle drop, and then like everything goes silent, or I guess the needle scratch, I should say, record scratch. Then, of course, everything goes fucking silent. She's like, "Oh, that's not weird or anything." So then she does her shot, and then she walks over to the table with fucking Captain Isaac. And then I'm just going to tell you guys right now, shit's about to get super fucking weird. So just brace yourselves for that. So the captain is telling Abby the graveyard shark exists because of him. And he tells the story of him drinking by the water, and then he heard some singing or something, and then he walks over, and there was a mermaid there. And he's like, "Oh, yeah, it's like super sexy mermaid." And then he goes into great detail about the things he does to this mermaid, with this mermaid. We see some of it, not a lot of it. They start kissing, then they start fucking, and Abby's like interrupting, saying like, "I do not need to hear all the details of this story. Like, can you please just get to the fucking point of this? Because this is super weird." And I'm not going to spoil too much of it, because again, you need to see this shit. It's fucking insane. I loved it. Oh my god. Fucking weird. But long story short, mermaid gives birth to half shark, half man baby. So she returns to him and is like, "Yeah, this is yours." And he's like, "Are you sure about that?" And like, so they like kind of argue back and forth. And while he was telling the story to the mermaid and him fucking, he was like using his food as an example, and he was like fisting his macaroni at one point and doing weird shit with the lobster. Again, you gotta fucking see this. It is absolutely insane. But yeah, we actually see this little baby half man shark thing, kind of just like its head and its legs and whatnot, but like fucking hilarious, man. This is so good. The captain clearly doesn't want this baby, and he argues with the mermaid, and then he knocks her out with a shovel, and then he starts beating the baby shark with the fucking shovel to death, or so he thought, obviously. And Abby is pretty appalled by this, but then the captain said like he had to do it because like it was a devil, like it was from hell, this thing. I think he's just kind of a piece of shit, maybe. Yeah, I don't know, because there's no reason to think this thing would be evil, but I don't know. It's still funny though. And yeah, he buried it in the graveyard to again hope that the holy or hallowed ground or whatever would keep this thing dead and from coming back. And then Abby, of course, blames the captain for all the deaths and asks like what he's doing to try and stop it. And he's like, well, I've just been labeled as a loony by all the people in this town, so I'm basically just going to give up and not do anything. And then she's like, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to hunt it. So, like, basically, somebody else is going to have to clean up your fucking mess. Great job. She storms out of the bar, and on the street, she meets the stoner from the support group and his not drug dealer. And then she ends up smoking weed with them, which is, like, probably her first time. And then we see this montage of them, like, eating ice cream and whatnot, and, like, she's basically tripping. Then she has a vision of her dad, or as he put it, a version of him that her high as fuck brain has made up or something like that. And he tells her the importance of stopping the shark and not to blame herself for his death, and like she just needs to believe herself. And then she has this sex dream with Bigfoot. Yeah, I didn't miss anything in between that. So she goes to her hotel room, and we can tell this is like a dream sequence because the lighting's all like weird and fucked up. And then she's like, oh yeah, I'm into this. And we're supposed to believe that this is Bigfoot, but it's just clearly just a dude in like a Bigfoot costume, but whatever. And so she like gets dressed into like sexy underwear, and then like she starts like getting all over this Bigfoot dude. And then she shoves her fist up its ass or something. It's just so fucking weird, man. And then she's like making out or like trying to ride his face, and then she ends up pulling the mask off, and it's like, oh my god, it's Greg. And then she wakes up and she's in bed, so none of it was real, but she has the mask in her hand. And then Greg is there making coffee because I guess they shared a hotel room or whatever, but he's making coffee, and she's like, did we do anything last night? And of course he doesn't pick up on anything that she's saying. I don't know if he's just stupid or oblivious, but like he doesn't understand any of it. And she's like, did we have sex last night? He's like, oh god, no. He's like, you came in here with like that stoner dude, then they left, and then you grabbed the mask and started doing some really weird shit, and so I left. Then she tells him that she learned about the origins of the graveyard shark, and she worked some shit out in her head, I guess. So she may have like some sort of plan to deal with this thing. And then the sheriff returns to the scene of the doctor's death and sees like nothing has been cleaned up or anything. And then he starts wandering off looking for them, finds their bodies, and then it's like, oh, gonna have to start looking at resumes again, damn bears. Like, okay. This actually kind of makes less sense later if I'm thinking about this right. Yeah, whatever. It's still fucking funny though, man. Again, I'm laughing throughout this entire fucking movie. Abbey and Greg return to the graveyard, and the two stoners and a couple of other people from the support group, the fiance girl and the influencer, I think Chip and Sadie were their names, if I remember right. And so they show up and say that they're going to help, and they're doing it for the doctor, and they all like put their hands in the middle, like, for the doctor, yeah. And then the fucking captain shows up, and now he's suddenly ready to help, so he's changed his mind. And then they all kind of gear up, grabbing various weapons, and Abby's got a crossbow with her. I think Greg had like fucking scissors or some shit. Makes sense though, it's fucking Greg. Ugh, fucking Greg. And then Abby gives everyone an area to go and investigate, so everyone kind of breaks off into groups of two. The captain and Abby are a team, and they're kind of just like standing back to back in front of a crypt, chatting. So I don't really know what the plan is here. I guess it's just to like look around for it. Yeah, so the captain just yaps away, admits he was scared, and blah blah blah. And then we see Greg is with the influencer, Sadie, and she's basically hitting on him, and he's completely oblivious to all of this. And then he says like he doesn't think his mother would approve or some shit, and I'm like, fucking Christ, Greg, my god. Granted, she's probably not the one. Like, she's pretty fucking terrible. She didn't care about her photographer dying, so actually, maybe Greg's right. Yeah, maybe, okay. All right, Greg, I'm with you, buddy. He is still too close with his mom, though. He's got to get out of that basement, or I hope they don't share a room. I really hope not. Anyways, Abby and the captain go into a crypt to search for the shark, and the stoner and Chip are teamed up, and they're standing in like a pond, or well, they say don't go in the pond because that's where the shark could be, but it's clearly a lake. and they were told not to go near it, but they're like fucking standing in it back to back. And then they start to hear the shark, and then it attacks them both. They manage to shoot a flare off to let everybody else know like where they are. And then the fiance girl's brought into the lake and attacked there, and I'm pretty sure that's where she dies. It was in the lake fight. And then the stoner dude managed to get away. They did put up a bit of a fight. Like, it wasn't just like one and done and it's over. But again, I'm not going to go into too much detail because I do want people to actually watch this. But yeah, they did put up a fight. I will say that. Abbey and the captain are now in a tunnel, and they find the shark's lair. And then Greg and the model are attacked, and then Greg's throat is slit, so he's down for the count. And then Sadie, the influencer, talks her way into giving Graveyard Shark a blowjob. And then her and the shark, they do it. Yep, just doggy style against the tree. Yeah, that happened. Fucking weird, man. It's just I don't know what else to say. It is so fucking funny, man. Oh, holy shit. So anyways, Abbey and the captain are exploring the lair, and then they find all these like childlike drawings, and then the sheriff walks in with his gun pointed. We go back with the shark and Sadie, and after they've finished, the shark just like headbutts Sadie and knocks her out, and then picks her up and starts walking off. And then Stoner Dude sees this, so he starts following them. In the lair, the shark brings Sadie and sets her down there and starts like sniffing Abbey and the captain. And then the sheriff tells it to back down. So the sheriff has basically been in control of this thing, which is kind of why it doesn't make sense earlier when he blames it on the bears, because he clearly knows it wasn't the bears, or I would assume not, but whatever, it doesn't matter. And then the captain asks, like, what the fuck? And so we learn that the sheriff had lost his own wife and son at some point, and he was at the graveyard that night drinking at their gravestone or whatever, and he was basically praying for his son back, and he ended up seeing what the captain did, and then he rescued the baby shark, because he was like, yeah, this was a sign from heaven. And then, of course, the captain's like, no, man, that's a sign from the devil, blah, blah, blah. But the sheriff basically lets the shark just kill people, because his logic is, oh, if I wasn't out protecting those people, I would have been at home protecting my family. And I'm like, you could also just not be a fucking cop. But at the same time, this is also like kind of like the most cop response to it, I guess. So, but no, it's funny though, man. It's so good. It's just pure nonsense, and I fucking love it. I'm all here for it. The sheriff and the captain have an argument, and I'm pretty sure the sheriff says the line from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, you may be his father, but you ain't his daddy, or something along those lines. So he says that to the like fucking captain. There's actually a couple lines in this movie. I think earlier when Chip was by the lake fighting the shark, I think she said something like, you took everything from me, and it sounded very much like Wanda's line from Avengers Endgame. I don't know if any of those were actually influences. Maybe it could just be coincidence. I don't know. Don't care. I'm all here for it. It's awesome. But yeah, that was just kind of something that I noticed. The sheriff then tells him to kill his dad, but then the shark refuses to, and then just kills the sheriff instead, and he disembowels him. And then Sadie is woken up now, and then while the shark is killing the sheriff, like ripping his guts out, Abbey and Sadie leave, and they meet up with the stoner dude because he ended up like following them there. And then the captain apologizes to the shark, and then like kind of rips into him a little bit. And then, like, he's doing this big build-up speech, and then he's like, oh, they took my shit. And then we see Abbey and all of them have taken his spear with them. So he thought he was going to have, like, this big epic moment with his spear, but they fucking took it. So then he's like, say hi to daddy, and then the shark just, like, fucking rips into him and disembowels him. It's, just, fucking brilliant. Just pure nonsense. Oh, I love this. But yeah, the others all end up escaping, and then Abbey says that she's going to take care of this thing, so she tells the others to, like, go and get the hell out of there. And then while this is going on, we also see that Greg it's also like nighttime now. So while they were underground, it's like changed to nighttime. And Greg is like turning into something. His eyes open up, then he rips his shirt off, and he's just like all fucking hairy as he's lying there. But we cut back to Abby, and the shark has started following her, and she tries to shoot it with a crossbow, and he kind of just swats the arrow away. So she starts running into the foggy woods. I really loved this like fog stuff that they were using because it's just like very Evil Dead 2, well, Evil Dead franchise. And then Hammer horror kind of thing. It was great. I fucking loved it. I thought it was good. Usually, sometimes it bothers me in movies, but this, I don't know, it just helped really play into everything else that they were doing with this. So Abby then starts trying to load another arrow, but she can't get it done. So she starts running away and then follows her into the forest. So she tries again, and then the shark ends up picking her up. And then she pulls a arrow out of her back pocket. I guess she just had one back there, even though you didn't really see it. Again, doesn't matter. She stabs the shark with it. It throws her down. She goes to grab the spear, and then Greg has emerged. And he is this... I think because earlier he was talking about werebears as being one of the possibilities of what this monster could be if it wasn't a graveyard shark. And so I think for some reason, again, I'm actually totally confused on why right now, but it doesn't matter. He's turned into a werebear or a werewolf. He's some sort of hairy fucking man creature, okay? And he has green glowing eyes. I don't know. It's amazing though, because these two start fighting. The fucking shark and bear thing start going at it. And then when the shark has Greg pinned to the ground, it starts beating the shit out of him. Abby comes from behind and starts stabbing the shark with the spear. And then over and over and over again, like covering herself in fucking blood. And then she's about to attack werebear Greg. And then she's like, "Oh, Greg, that's you?" And she's like, "What the fuck, Greg?" And then Greg just kind of like waves his arms around, and then he just goes wandering off. And then Abby just starts laughing, and then she collapses onto the shark, laughing away. And then we roll to credits. Holy fucking shit balls. Wow. Oh, and then during the end credits, we get this like graveyard shark like rap hip hop song. Fucking great. Loved every second of it. In case you can't tell, this movie's fucking awesome. I loved every second of this. Like, the poster and trailer delivered on everything that it promised and more. Like, I got way more than I was actually expecting. And I've said before, if you're gonna do a shark movie or something, like, do it fucking weird. Like, let's get weird with it. And they got weird with it. It's like Matt Peters read my diary and then made it into a movie. Incredible. I do want to give a little bit of trivia on Mad Angel Films, give them a bit of a shout out since they did send me the screener for this. They have 22 films to date. Our goal at Mad Angel Films is to create an environment that brings together actors, directors, crew, musicians, and artists, allowing them to express their creative sides. For the last 17 years, we have been the driving force and leader of filmmaking in our hometown of Utica, New York, paving the way for many young artists and filmmakers to create films in our area. We continue to support their growth as we together build a strong film community. Our personal goal is to tell amazing, entertaining stories, push the boundaries of filmmaking while working with micro budgets. It is our hope to continue making films that entertain you all for a long time to come. Which is incredible. I fucking love that. That's the type of like production companies I love trying to support. So yeah, they're from Central New York. They were founded in 2007. Over the years, hundreds of people have come together to create several film projects. Their motto is Semper Creante, or always creating. So yeah, I love that. I love this movie. This is getting 4 fucking stars from me. I had a blast. The shark suit and whole design of it was awesome. I got a practical suit, practical effects. The only one piece of CGI I remember is when the flare was shot up, which, I don't really care that much. If they used it anywhere else, I'm honestly not remembering right now, because it honestly probably doesn't really matter that much because everything else was great. This movie literally has been delivering on everything I have been talking about for the last little while of like, where's the shark? Where's the gore? If you're not going to give me that, give me some boobies. Well, this movie just like splooged all over me, gave me all of it. Yeah, I don't know what else I can possibly say about this movie. I hope at some point you guys get a chance to check it out. It is an absolute blast. Again, the acting, the effects, the writing was funny too, actually. I didn't really give him enough credit for that. But yeah, all of this was great. I had such a good time with this movie. So again, thank you, Mad Angel Films. That was Graveyard Shark from 2024, directed by Matt Peters. You guys know you can find me on all the social medias. That's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Slasher, all at Bucket of Chum Podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you could leave a like, a comment, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't, that would be greatly appreciated. If you're listening to the audio version, if you could leave a 5-star rating or review, that would also be greatly appreciated, and it just really helps get the podcast out there. But as always, I will see you guys next time for more Bucket of Chum.